Hey, Robert, first of all, welcome to Colorado.
Thank you.
Secondly, how does it feel to have a fresh new start? I know with the Red, you came in with lot of fanfare and everything else. A fresh start, new team. What does that mean to you?
I think it's going to be a great opportunity for me. Obviously, I spent a long time with that organization, and with that comes, I don't know. I guess you kind of get expectations and over time, and so it'd be nice to have a fresh new start with this team.
How much of a disruption was last year for you? Because it really looked like with your stuff was kind of coming together. You had found a role with the Reds, but how much of a disruption was everything that happened last year?
I was obviously very disappointed with last season. Definitely not the season I wanted to have, and certainly not the season that everybody would have liked to have as in baseball. Period. So, I wasn't happy with how it went, and I feel like I could definitely do better. So I think this year will be a good start.
As you hit the reset button, what are the things about your pitching style and the pitches that you feel like have come together that maybe they didn't show last year but should show up this year?
I feel like everybody already knows about my slider. That's something that I feel like I can throw anytime, and is one of the better pitches in baseball. And I think I've done some work this offseason on a few other pitches, and I'm pretty excited about the repertoire that I have now.
Feel free to keep going if you like. If anyone else has.
Yeah, give me just a second here. I've got a little problem. Hold
on. All right, Tracy Ringlesby, we'll go ahead to you.
How comfortable have you been pitching out of the bullpen? Has that become a challenge that you enjoy, or would you like to get into a rotation?
If they want me to start, then I'm happy to start, but I've loved pitching out of the bullpen the last few years, and I feel like it's a lot more comfortable role for me, just being able to be on a daily routine rather than on a weekly routine. I really enjoy it.
Just knowing that any day something could happen, is that what you enjoy about it, or just because
I like it? It's more of like a rush, getting up, getting hot quick, and like I said, the daily routine suits me better. Just being able to wipe the memory clean and go back out there the next day.
Anybody helped you make adjustments to being a reliever in particular that had a real impact on your adjusting to it?
I think it was a combination of all the pitching coaches that I had. Especially the last couple of years, having our bullpen coach in Cincinnati, Lee Tunnell, he helped me a lot, and pitching staff up there too, Derek Johnson, Caleb Cotham, those guys helped me a lot.
Thank you.
Kyle Frederickson with the Denver Post. Kyle, go ahead.
Hey, Robert, thanks for doing this, man. I'm curious, just as a new guy here, who are some of the players that you've noticed in this clubhouse who are real leaders, just guys who are maybe kind of culture builders? I know it's a short amount of time, but has anyone really stood out as someone that everyone seems to really rally around in this team?
It's hard to say. I've only been with all the guys for one day so far. It seems like Oberg is probably one of the leaders around here, but I don't really know a whole lot about anybody else so far. So I'm sure I'll get to know everybody better as camp goes on.
And this is a team that not a lot of outsiders right now expect to do a whole lot or even make the playoffs, but do you think that a lot of guys relish that in your career? Have you embraced being the underdog?
I mean, I was in a place where we were always the underdog too, and we turned things around last year and went to the playoffs, and I certainly feel like we could do the same thing here this year too, and it'd be awesome to be able to do that in a year where no one thinks that we'd be able to.
Go to Nick Grove from The Athletic. Nick, go ahead.
Yeah, hey, Robert, what's your impression of Coors Field, and specifically, what is your impression of Coors Field and what it means for how you pitch specifically?
First off, it's a beautiful ballpark. I've only been there one time, but I really enjoyed it when I was there. And obviously, there's a lot of things that come with it, the altitude and the way pitches move there. So that's something I'll be having to look into a little bit deeper when I have a chance to talk with the pitching coaches more and get a little bit better feel with the strength coaches on recovery. But, I think it's obviously there's a change you have to make there, but I don't think it's something that's too stressful because it is still a big ballpark. And, I'm used to pitching a park that the ball flies. So it's not going to be too big of an adjustment for me.
Yeah, I gotcha. And then if you don't mind me asking, obviously in print, you go by Robert. Do you go by Robert in person too?
I go by Robert. A lot of my teammates used to call me Bob or Rob, either way.
Okay, gotcha. Just curious. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Stout. Mark, go ahead.
Hi, Robert. Welcome to Colorado. Did the trade take you by surprise, and when did you find out about it? And what was your reaction to it?
It definitely took me by surprise. I think it was just before Thanksgiving, but when I found out, I was obviously very excited about the news. It's always a good thing to be traded, somebody that wants you to play for them, and obviously being on the West Coast where I'm from is a lot closer to me, so being able to have family come out and be able to watch as long as things permit will be pretty nice for me.
Pitches have you worked on in the off season? You mentioned earlier.
I've been trying to fine tune my four seam a little bit, get a little bit more vertical lift out of that, and try to add more velo to it. I stopped throwing my curveball a couple years ago, so I added that back in, and then I've been working on a new changeup too.
Do you remember your start against the Rockies in 2016?
A little bit, yeah. I don't remember a ton of it, but I do remember it a little bit.
The longest outing in the league, 7 innings, and you got the win. Just and an aside question: are you from the same hometown as Joe DiMaggio and the DiMaggios?
I am, yeah.
Okay, it's an interesting tidbit to know. Thank you.
We'll go back to Thomas Harding. Thomas, go ahead.
Yes, you come to camp, obviously new opportunity here, but out of minor league options at this point. But is that kind of gone for you, that you don't worry about that? It's just, hey, it's the future, I'm going to pitch. Or is that a motivating factor going into spring training?
For me, at this point, I view myself as a big leaguer, and that's where I plan to be. I feel like I have the stuff, and everything's starting to come together where I'm going to be able to show that I have it too, and I'm able to do it. That's where I plan on being.
I know the Reds, with kind of the association a bit with the guy from Driveline, have done a lot of, analytics with pitching. What have you found here, or what did you bring here with you that maybe meshes with how the Rockies think?
I just got onto the Driveline program this offseason, and I'm very happy about how that went. It was able to give me a good look at all my pitches and give me a little bit more data, give me a better understanding of the data too. And I think that's something that's going to be pretty helpful taking over here. So that way I can go into the season, especially with a different ballpark, when the pitches move a little bit differently yet, and be able to take that and utilize it.
If I could just have you detail 2 pitches that I could see helping you here. The curveball, it's a pretty good change of speed. Obviously, it's a different pitch in altitude, but how big is that for you? And also elevating the fastball. How do you do that? How do you elevate a fastball?
I guess I'll start with the curveball. I think, like I said, that's a pitch that I threw in the past, so it wasn't too hard for me to pick back up, and I think it'll be good to be able to catch hitters off guard sometimes, steal a strike or get a strike late when they're expecting a slider or something. And as far as the fastball, I just kind of have to set my sights high. For me, I have to have the catcher's glove up high so I can get it there. And I think that's one of the main things I've been working on with that pitch this offseason, is being able to get it up in the zone enough to where it's going to be out of reach.
Very much, Robert.
We have time for 3 more here. We'll start with Patrick Lyons from Denver.com. Patrick, go ahead.
Hey, Robert. 2019, you had a breakout season, excellent second half. What were those adjustments that you made in order to, basically have that major success that you had in the second half? I know you mentioned last year didn't quite go as, you had planned it. What didn't work in 2020 that really had worked when you made those adjustments in 2019?
I think the biggest difference between 2019 and 2020 was the way my fastball was working for me. I think at times, especially in 2019, when I was able to locate it well and get it to where I wanted, it was a lot more effective for me, and it set up the slider a lot better. And I think in 2020, I got a little bit too heavy reliant on the slider, and so whenever I'd throw a fastball, guys would be hunting it, and it got hit a lot harder.
You're welcome.
We'll go back to Tracy Ringlesby. Tracy, go ahead.
Robert, obviously Coors Field is a big ballpark that has a lot of questions about what it does for pitchers, but you're coming from Cincinnati, which is a small ballpark, right? It has a lot of challenges for pitchers. Do you think it helps you, even though it's a different type of challenge, do you think it helps you to come into a Coors Field having pitched in Cincinnati and having had success?
Absolutely. I feel like it's pretty known as one of the worst pitchers ballparks out there. So I think coming into Coors, another place that people kind of expect to be more of a hitter-friendly ballpark, gives me a little bit of an advantage already, being able to work with those kind of situations.
assume a lot of that is just being able to block out the fact that it's not necessarily your best friend, but you can still survive there.
Yeah, and you know, obviously with a lot of room out there too, be able to let the defense work a little bit too.
I will go back to Mark Stout for the last question. Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, one last thing, Robert. Did you grow up a Giants fan in the Bay Area?
I did.
Yeah. Who were your favorite players? Because we'll see them a lot.
You know, so I actually picked 29 because I grew up watching Jason Schmidt. And then, you know, I obviously watched Barry Bonds when he was there, and he was pretty fun to watch.
All right, thank you, Robert. Really appreciate the time, sir. Thank you, everyone, for hopping on back home in Denver.